Gaza is starving. I mean, that's the story dominating your feed. The UN and NGOs sound the alarm, the media cries famine and starvation. Every headline, every photo, every pundit points the finger at Israel. But here's the thing. Gaza isn't starving for lack of food. If Gaza is indeed starving, it's because Hamas is playing a sick and cynical game. And the UN is complicit. For Hamas, aid is the last element of power it has over the population. It's also its main source of revenue. And Hamas will do everything and anything to retain control, including starving ordinary Gazans, or torturing and killing those trying to access the alternative GHF food distribution sites, especially when they know they can blame it all on Israel, and that the world will be only too happy to comply. Hamas steals and stockpiles aid. It denies it to civilians, or sells it at exorbitant prices. $40 for a kilo of rice. Hamas is turning hunger into profit and suffering into PR strategy. They use it to win sympathy, manipulate world opinion, and put pressure on Israel. And it works, especially with so much help and encouragement. The UN and other NGOs insist Hamas must be involved in aid distribution, despite what they know. But then comes the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF, which gets food directly to civilians, cutting Hamas out of the picture altogether. And that works, to a degree. No, it's not perfect. And it could be so much better if the UN and NGOs cooperated. But they won't. The GHF has offered to distribute 950 truckloads of UN aid that is already in Gaza, but sitting rotting in the sun. UNRWA and NGOs steadfastly refuse to cooperate with the only organisation that is getting food directly to ordinary Gazans. If, as they claim, there is a famine in Gaza, why would they rather food rot than reach those in need? Incredibly, UNRWA is still insisting that Hamas be responsible for the security of aid distribution. The UN agency is complicit in Hamas' strategy of weaponising aid, just as it has been in Hamas terror. It's been reported that nearly 900 civilians have been killed trying to access the GHF aid sites. Hamas and the UN accuse Israel of luring civilians with food just to kill them. But that is a despicable lie, a modern-day blood libel. Hamas is sowing chaos and shooting ordinary Gazans in an attempt to sabotage the GHF. It even fired a rocket at one of the GHF sites. Still, Israel is blamed. Accusations are eagerly embraced by the usual suspects. There's more demonisation of the Jewish state. And it works a charm for Hamas, who are encouraged to continue killing their own. What Yahya Sinwar, now deceased, would have called a necessary sacrifice. And then there's the latest ceasefire negotiations and the hostages. Remember them? The Americans were optimistic. A deal, or at least a partial deal, was on the cards. They used to say you can trust what you see with your own eyes. But can you? The tragic images on the front pages are of children suffering for sure, but from chronic illness. Their bodies are emaciated not from hunger, but from disease. It's still tragic, but it's dishonest and manipulative in the extreme. There are more horrific, fake and AI-generated images, as well as those from entirely different conflicts which have been recycled to manufacture outrage. And the West laps it up. Hamas knows it can rely on the international community to play along. Its actions are ignored. There's increased pressure on Israel. So why would they compromise? Bottom line, Hamas rejected the deal. The hostages will continue to languish in dark dungeons. Ordinary Gazans will continue to suffer and go hungry, which works especially well for Hamas. It's cynical, it's calculated, it's evil. In the course of this war, Gaza has received over 1.8 million tons of aid. During the January to March ceasefire, some 25,000 aid trucks delivered over 447,000 tons of aid into Gaza, nearly 80% of which was food. According to the World Food Programme benchmarks, that's enough to feed Gaza's entire population for at least 6 months. Since May, the GHF has distributed an additional 90 million meals. UNRWA and other agencies have food in their warehouses and stores that are not being distributed. There are 950 truckloads of UN aid in Gaza waiting to be distributed. If that's the case, why the fuck are people going hungry in Gaza? It's not due to a lack of aid. It's a scandal, a man-made crisis driven by terror, dysfunction, propaganda and bias. But make no mistake, it is Hamas, not Israel, that is weaponizing aid and using starvation as a strategy. Their strategy only works if the international community complies. And it does. With dire consequences for ordinary Gazans.